Hello and welcome back to more AEW on TEW2020. We are here at the end of July on our Wednesday for our show of Dark and Dynamite. We start off Dynamite with a pretty easy, pretty simple match. Bianca Corelli gets a win over Sapphire. Regen, currently working in DPW. Good potential, but still nowhere near there. Ricochet defeats Dante Martin. And then a vignette plays at the Nightmare Factory. Number of young wrestlers are seen in the background. Can't be bothered to really show all who. Before we zoom in on QT Marshall in the ring with Paige Van Zant and Roxy. QT is going through some basic training before Paige Van Zant speaks up and says that a lot of the stuff that she's doing really seems pointless when she can just knock people out with ease. You know, she is a UFC fighter, or was a UFC fighter. Just ignore the fact that from what I've heard, she wasn't that great in the UFC, but still, UFC fighter. There's no need for any fancy suplexes or rope rebound moves or, God forbid, top rope moves. And Q's like, hey, I'm just trying to teach you pro wrestling. I want to make sure you can make the most out of your career. And Paige Van Zant's like, no, screw this. She leaves, and Q's is like, God damn it, Paige Van Zant. Pretty simple stuff. If I sound a little bit mellow, it is pretty early in the morning that I'm recording this, so that would be why. Jade Cargill defeats Mary Dobson. Killer Kelly defeats Kat Spencer, also working for DPW. Rather than Killer Kelly's music playing after her match, though, DKE's music plays. The two young upstarts come out. Killer Kelly is unamused as Hams of Daniels Katana Enchilada comes out towards the ring with a bunch of chocolates. She says that she doesn't know what she did to make Killer Kelly angry and have Killer Kelly beat them up, and she just wants to apologize for it. Kelly's like, yeah, sure, I'll take the chocolates, and as Hams is leaving the ring, Killer Kelly just crushes them in her hand, and then charges in ready to attack Hams, but Morgan Daniels intercepts it, and she gets laid out by Killer Kelly, just knocked out, basically. And Killer Kelly's like, you know what? Good enough for me. She walks out and Hams is freaking out. Morgan just got wrecked trying to protect Hams, who is very strange. The Good Brothers defeat Evil Uno and Stu Grayson, who are still here. Doc Gallows, he did get a hot move on Impact the previous day in-game, so there is that. Dalton Castle defeats Sean Spears. Wardlow defeats Chris Sabin. Kairi Hoja defeats Kylie Ray. And afterwards, Anna Jay and Ty Conti come out after the match, and they both have mics in their hands. They talk down to Kairi, saying that it's fitting how she's so into boat because she's been such a castaway throughout her entire career here in AEW, and she's always been left behind. And it's not just in AEW that she's been kind of left behind. She's always been in the shadows of Io Shirai and Mayu Iwatani, who are both better and younger than her. Always throughout her career, no matter where it was, she played second fiddle to either of those two in Freedom, to Kana. I don't think Kana was part of Thunder. I don't think Kairi was part of Thunder Rock. Maybe she was. I don't think. That's just reference to the WWE pairing between Kairi and Kana. I don't think they. Or Kairi and Asuka, of course. I don't think they had any pairing in Stardom or in Japan before. And right now, it's no different here. Kairi cuts them off and says that they talk too much and they should just come down to the ring right now and face her, but Jay and Tay, they kind of back off and they say it because they want Kairi to be at 100% before they go and take her on, because they want to just show everyone just how irrelevant Kairi has become. Suzuki defeats El Firme. And in our main event, Kota Ibushi defeats Nat Murphy. 68 rating for our show as we move on to Dynamite. Our show of Dynamite begins with an awful match because there is no chemistry, but oh well. AJ Styles, Priscilla Kelly defeat Christopher Daniels and Riho Kakashi. AJ pins Christopher Daniels. No chemistry to be had whatsoever. But that is fine. AJ stands tall in the match, watching as Riho and Christopher Daniels leave the ring before turning to the ramp. After a few moments, Jungle Boy is thrown out onto the ramp, followed shortly after by Alexander Hammerstone and Scorpio Sky, who are they're the ones who attacked Jungle Boy, threw him out. And AJ gets a mic with this. He says, now that I've dealt with the thorn on my side known as Christopher Daniels, it's time that I take out someone else. Jungle Boy, I've offered you my goodwill, and you've declined it. Well, the Bullet Club doesn't take too kindly to those that reject our brotherhood. So I'm sorry to tell you that you've made the wrong choice, Jack. I'm the phenomenal, the leader of the Bullet Club, and I ain't just gonna let you get away with treating the Bullet Club like we were nothing. I'm not just gonna let you get away with rejecting our gifts. However, he is cut off by Luchasaurus, rushing into the ring and attacking Alexander Hammerstone. From the other side, Ricky Starks comes in and attacks Scorpio Sky, because Scorpio Sky, FTW champion, Ricky Starks wants that. And Frankie Kazarian rushes out from the crowd to attack AJ. As the fighting on the ramp is broken up, Kaz goes over to help Daniels and Riho on the outside. AJ Styles still in the ring with Priscilla Kelly. Big things happening here. So Christopher Daniels, he hasn't wrestled since February. Same with Kaz. So both of them, they were put into sort of an unofficial retirement, I guess. But now, big fights going on. After this, a vignette plays, hyping up Bronson Steiner ahead of his main event for the TNT title. Scott Steiner talks talking about how much work Bronson has done in the weight room and in the ring under the tutelage of himself, his uncle. Scott is flanked by members of the Papas of Pump, mainly Will Hobbs and Nat Murphy. Bronson is off training, Willie Hobbs has been kicked out, and Scott Steiner makes some very unsubtle jabs towards Willie Mack. And that has Hobbs leave midway through. It's not something that's brought attention to, but, as Steiner's talking, as he's making quips at Willie Mack, Will Hobbs leaves. Nat Murphy's like, hey, where are you going? We're supposed to be here, and we're supposed to look tough for Scott. That's what he asked us to do, but Will Hobbs, he leaves midway through. After this, Layla Hirsch defeats Queen Lupa. Io Shirai came in for a bit of a distraction, and we'll explain here. So midway through the match, Io Shirai comes out towards the ring, and just her coming out towards the ring is enough of a distraction for Layla that Queen Lupa can go in and hit her finisher, whatever the Eclipse is called in this. Layla does manage to kick out, however. On the outside, Io Shirai and Kurt Angle go back and forth. They're arguing as Layla ends up winning the match. And as she's being announced, as Justin Roberts is, and your winner. Music playing, she runs up the ropes, she's yelling at Io, she's going back and forth. Kurt is like, hey, Layla, calm down. Io, why come out here? But doesn't work. Io slides into the ring, punches thrown, fight begins. Io probably lays out Layla for a little bit before Kurt Angle rushes in. He holds Io back. Io breaks free. She teases hitting Kurt with a move, but she backs off. She's slowly backing away. She's yelling at Layla Hirsch, I'm still up for the challenge. You're lucky Kurt's here, all that sort of stuff. As Io leaves. After this, a promo is shown with Miro, him sitting on the couch as CJ Perry stands and she's yelling at the camera. She says, you want me to not be at ringside for my husband's most important match in his career, in his life? Are you mad, Hangman? Your efforts decline because I will always have Miro's back. He will end, as she's trying to rant on, Miro just cuts her off and says, I accept your terms, Hangman. Though I trust that CJ would not get involved in the match, I don't want that possibility to happen. CJ, I know you want to be there. You want to be right there with me. But I can't allow it. I know you want me to do everything that I can to win, but if I do that, if I take every single trick in the book to win, I'm no better than that person that I once was, the person that I'm trying to get away from. At All Out, Hangman Adam Page, you will face Miro at his best. And it'll be then that the world will see I am truly worthy to be champion. If I am worthy to be redeemed. Technically, this is the Redeemer gimmick, but it's very, very different, I think. All about redeeming himself. So, we'll see how that goes at the main event of All Out. I need a good match. FTR defeats Midnight Dynamite. The beginning of the show was really weak, so I just needed to kind of pound in some really good matches late on. Paul White was on commentary for the match, and after the match is finished, Cash Wheeler begins yelling towards commentary, because of course Dax was the one that finished the match, for Paul to make his way to the ring, and Paul does that. Andrew Everett, he rushes out from the back. You know, he wants to assist his big brother. FTR, they're making fun of the Sons of Andre, in particular Andrew Everett, and Andrew Everett is taking it well. He's taking all the verbal abuse on the chin, but that stops once FTR shove Andrew Everett, and he starts getting ready to charge. It's almost like a Scrappy-Doo moment. Paul holds Andrew back eventually, just like, alright, you know what, fine. Picks Andrew up, walks out, he's leaving the arena. Andrew is freaking out. Again, Scrappy-Doo moment. He's, you know, like flailing his arms. I did the actual motion, but you can't see that, obviously, because I'm not a face cam guy. But it's a bit of a ridiculous moment. These guys are all good at being pretty funny, so, you know, they know what to do. After this, Antonio Banks is seen in his boardroom office, surrounded by the entirety of the bankroll. Forgot to put Big Swole on screen. Whoops. And he says, business is booming here in the bankroll. The Acclaimed have blown up on social media because of their win over the Hardy Brothers. Ricochet is constantly making highlights, and Big Swole, even in defeat, she showed how she is the best of the best. And Jonathan Gresham here, he still holds strong as the PWG World Heavyweight Champion. But there's always room for improvement. There's always room for us to soar to the top and give you, the fans, exactly what you want to see. And that's why I'm glad to announce, on my authority as a lead investor in AEW, that we have some big plans coming up. I hope the world is ready for us, so we're about to make some serious bank. I'm imagining that the hot catchphrase is probably business is booming. I don't know. It seems like something that he could get over. After this, Mayu Iwatani and Shotzi Blackheart, they're being introduced for their match against the Boss Bitches, but they fail to show up. Eventually, there's a cut to backstage where the champion and challenger have been beaten down by all 4 members of the Boss Bitches. They're being yelled at by the Boss Bitches are yelling at the champion and challenger, and how they're always the cream of the crop in the women's division. But as they're doing, they're boasting Jordan Grace. She rushes in, she starts attacking, she probably knocks out Nancy, she probably knocks out Elena, gets close to Jamie, but she is still outnumbered, so she's brought down. Jade Cargill, she turns to the camera, and she's yelling, you know, she's pointing at the down 3 baby faces, and says that nothing is going to put down the 4 baddest women in AEW. Lots of poor ratings, but I have backloaded this card. Of course. The Princedom defeat the Inner Circle. 2-on-3 handicap match. This is very much a match where Jericho and Austin, they're doing fine, but Hager is just off his game. Even with Finn separating his shoulder. Yeah. But Fatu does pin Hager. Devitt, even with, well, head and 1 shoulder above everyone else. Yeah. Good ratings for everyone. Jericho, bit disappointed in him, but he is getting up there in age. So, yeah. He might be forced into retirement soon. Well, I'll explain a little bit more after this segment. While Ace and Chris Jericho put up valiant fights, Jake Hager ended up losing the match for the Inner Circle. Jericho is distraught, and Hager lays in the ring. He's apologizing to Jericho the entire time, but Jericho leaves in distress. Ace Austin follows after. Devin and Fatu offer a hand to Hager, and they're like, hey, don't worry about it. But it's a trap. Jacob Fatu, he hits Hager with a Samoan drop. He rolls out the camera as we cut to the next segment. This is going to be Jake Hager's last appearance in AEW. His contract is expiring. I am not going to be bringing him back. There are a few people who will be leaving. Hager is gone. Cardona and Spears are gone. I think there's one or two other people that I can't remember off the top of my head. Some people are going to be leaving. Hager is one of them, and well, I should have gone through and put Burial on the Road Agent's notes for Hager, but I thought I would be nice. That was a mistake. That next segment is Tenille Dashwood and Deonna Purrazzo backstage. They're in a phone conversation. It's on speakerphone. They're yelling at a person about, someone's like, hey, so in order for the repairs, you're going to have to pay a lot of money for this. Some ridiculous number, like $3 million or something like that. And they're like, hey, no, shut up. That's ridiculous. They hang up, and Lexi Paradise walks onto the screen. She makes fun of the two, and she says that with their meal ticket, MJF gone, they can't even afford their Hyatt life, they can't even afford their home. The VIPs are like, yeah, well, shut up. Obviously, they have some witty dialogue back and forth, and they threaten to knock Lexi out, but Lexi, she backs up, camera follows to show Satnam Singh, the new bodyguard for Lexi Paradise. And, they're welcome to try. Tenille and Deonna, they can try beating up Lexi. And they're just like, fine, whatever. And they leave Satnam Singh, the giant bodyguard, to Lexi Paradise. We need more big guys in AEW. It's a very small company, and small in terms of the people. And yeah, losing Hager is not going to help that much, because Hager is fairly tall, he's a fairly big guy, but it's fine. In our main event, this is a bad show. Main event, Bronson Steiner defeats Garza. Sammy Guevara, he was at ringside, he ends up costing the match for Garza. At the end of the match, there was a ref bump, and Garza ends up asking Sammy Guevara for a bottle of perfume. It's not like something that Garza always has with him that he uses to cheat. It's just like, he's shown putting on perfume in matches or whatever. It's a it's generic hot guy thing. Sammy, he reluctantly goes over, he gets the perfume, but he sees just right behind Garza, Bronson Steiner is starting to get up. Sammy's like, you know what? Fuck you, Garza. Sprays Garza in the face with the perfume. Bronson goes over, he puts in the Steiner recliner on him, ref gets up. Probably it wouldn't have to be with the Steiner recliner, probably some pinfall move. And it's enough for Garza to lose. His year-long reign with the TNT title is over. Show ends with Bronson and Scott Steiner celebrating as Garza glares at Sammy in the background. Better than I thought. Lot of poor matches. I thought that Princedom versus Inner Circle match would be way better. I thought that main event would be way better, but I can see why it wasn't. Pretty bad show ratings-wise, but I do like the show overall. I still think it's fine. I'm not worried about it. We move on to Rampage, which should be a banger just because, well, even if it is just because of the main event, Moxley versus Brock Lesnar. No DQs, no holds barred, whatever you want to call it. But there'll still be more stuff on that show, of course.